Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have got a packed day of basketball ahead of us, and you know what that means? We're going to dig through these matchups and find some real value. Let's jump right in.
So are you ready to get into today's action? I know I am. But before we get to our first game, just a quick word about the folks who help make all this happen. Huge shout out to our sponsors, MyStake and Vadada. If you want to check them out, the links are right down there in the description, and they've got some sweet sign-up bonuses waiting for you. And hey, if you get something out of this breakdown today, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It makes a huge difference. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk hoops.
All right, first up, we're diving into the trenches. We're starting with a couple of games where I expect defense to absolutely dominate. You know the type, real old-school, grinded-out battles, where every single basket is going to be a fight.
So, our first matchup is Besiktas versus Trento. Now, if you just glance at the standings, you think, oh, Besiktas has this in the bag. But trust me, there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface here.
So, what's the deal with Besiktas? Well, first off, they're coming off a pretty demoralizing loss to Anadolu Efes. But the real kicker? They're missing their #1 offensive weapon, Jonah Matthews. Take your top scorer out of the equation against a team like Trento, who loves to slow things down and play defense, well, you can see where this is going. This one has rock fight written all over it.
Yeah, everything is pointing towards a low-scoring defensive slugfest. So for this one, I really like the under. We're taking under 170.5 points.
Okay, let's keep that defensive mindset going for our next game. We've got Tofis taking on AS Kardassis, and let me tell you, this one is another that just screams low score to me.
The logic here is pretty straightforward, you know? On one side, you've got AS Kardassis, a team that just, well, they struggle to put the ball in the hoop. Seriously, look at their recent scores. Then you have Tofes, a team that doesn't really have a huge incentive to go all out and run up the score. Plus, Tofes has had some pretty ugly offensive nights themselves this year. It just all adds up to a low total.
So, with all that in mind, our play here is another under. We're going with under 167.5 points.
Okay, enough of the defensive grinds. Let's switch gears completely. Now, we're talking about the fun stuff, the offensive fireworks. These are the games where you can expect the scoreboard operator to be working overtime. Get ready for some points.
And kicking things off for us in the high-scoring category, we've got Borak Čačak versus Spartak. Yeah, this one should be a track meet.
So what's the story here? Well, this isn't the same old Borax team. Ever since they brought in Josh Pierre-Louis, they've totally changed their style. They're way more efficient on offense, and they are pushing the pace like crazy. They're not just that defense-first squad anymore. And you put that up against the Spartak team that's really found its rhythm on offense lately. Man, that's just a perfect recipe for points, points, and more points.
So yeah, for this one, I feel great about taking the over. The line's at 160.5, and I fully expect these two teams to fly right past that.
All right, let's stick with the high-scoring theme and head over to Germany. We've got a Bundesliga matchup between Jena and Oldenburg that looks really juicy.
This game is it's a textbook example of a game that should go over. You've got Jena, who plays at one of the fastest paces in the entire league. We're talking third fastest. And who are they playing? Oldenburg, one of the absolute worst defensive teams around. So think about it. Jena's only real shot at winning is to turn this into a shootout and just try to outrun them. It's a simple formula, but it almost always leads to a ton of points.
So, no surprise here, our final tip for the high-scoring section is over 167.5 points.
Yeah, buckle up for a fast one.
Okay, let's move on and talk about the big dogs. In this next section, we're focusing on some heavy favorites. These are teams that aren't just looking to squeak out a win, we expect them to come out and really dominate.
And first on our list is Le Mans taking on Hapoel Holland. And folks, this one looks like a pretty big mismatch, to be honest.
It really breaks down pretty simply. Le Mans is just a much, much better team quality-wise. Plus, they really need this win, so their motivation is going to be sky high. And then you look at Hapoel Holon, they've barely played. One game in the last month? They're going to be so rusty. Everything is just lining up for a big, dominant win for the home team here.
So we're not just taking Le Mans to win, straight up. Nope. We're going to back them to cover a pretty big spread. The tip is Le Mans laying 12.5 points.
That's a big number, but it shows you how confident we are in this spot. All right, let's rattle off a few more favorites real quick. First up, Split. They're playing at home, they have that tradition, and they're up against a weak Vienna defense. I like them to cover. Next, Alba Berlin. They're at home and looking to bounce back in a big way. I'm backing them for the win. And last but not least, Trier. They're the fastest, most efficient team in their league, and they should have absolutely no problem handling Hamburg.
Okay, who doesn't love a good underdog, right? For our last section, we're going to do a little bit of bargain hunting. We're looking for spots where the favorite might be a little bit shaky and the underdog has a real chance to not just cover, but maybe even pull off a surprise.
Our first one is Hapoel Jerusalem versus Turk Telekom, and this is one of those matchups where you really have to look past the team names because the context is absolutely everything.
So what's going on? Well, it's a similar story to what we saw with Hapoel Holland. Hapoel Jerusalem is just completely out of rhythm. They haven't been playing, and that kind of rust, it's going to hit their biggest strength, their offense, really hard. And on the flip side, you have Turk Telekom, a team that's playing well, they're in good form, and they are in a perfect position to take advantage of this whole situation.
Honestly, I think Turk Telekom has a shot to win this game outright, not just keep it close. So yeah, we are definitely taking the points with the underdog here, Turk Telekom plus 3.5.
All right, for our last pick of the day, we're looking at Galatasaray versus Ritas. And guess what? It's another spot where I think the underdog looks fantastic.
This quote right here really says it all. You've got Ritas coming into this game playing great basketball. They are fired up, super motivated, and they're fighting for a top spot in their group. And they're going up against the Galatasaray team that has just been, well, they've been a mess lately. It's truly a classic case of two teams going in completely opposite directions.
I fully expect Ritas to come out and give them a real battle. The spread here is pretty generous, so I am more than happy to take Ritas getting 8.5 points.
And that's a wrap. There you have it, our full breakdown of today's slate. Just to make it easy for you, here is a quick summary of all our picks for today. One last shout out to our sponsors, MyStake and Vadada. Don't forget to check out those bonus links down in the description. Hey, if you enjoyed breaking down the games with me today, hitting that like and subscribe button would mean a lot. Good luck with all your bets today, and I'll catch you on the next one.